Hey guys, Noel here, and it is Friday night, and after a fun and semi-tiring week of teaching, it is time for a live stream for the Noel ComiX YouTube channel. So tonight we are going to be playing just some generally very cool video games, beginning on the Sega Saturn, and we'll see where it takes us. I'm thinking fighting games will be our central focus as per usual, but I'm thinking we'll just kind of see where the evening leads us. We have lots of fun games in the game room, and we'll just have some chill time. I'm sure the presidential election will come up. 2020 is just filled with historical events, and as someone with 2 history degrees, I appreciate that, you know. So good stuff. We have the Stardust Crusaders on Pluto TV right now. So we're basically flipping back and forth between Stardust Crusaders and Johnny Carson. 2 of my favorite things to watch on Pluto TV. Pluto TV, where dreams come true. Literally my dreams. I never really thought that there would be a channel that just straight up played cool subtitled anime all day and Johnny Carson and 80s sitcoms and Japanese Power Rangers. It's a great thing. I love Pluto TV. So, we actually did get something cool in the mail the other day, and that is the Japanese version to one of my all-time favorite video games, X-Men Children of the Atom. Now, I got this game for a couple reasons. Number one, I really like Japanese Sega Saturn games, but actually that's not number one. Number one is because Santino wanted to play, hey, International Channel 4 Life, how is it going? I'm just pointing out that we now have the Japanese version of X-Men Children of the Atom, and I was telling those who are interested in the record of the Noel ComiX YouTube channel that I got this game for 2 reasons. One, I really like it, and then also tied for number one, Santino asked for it. I have the American version of this game. We've played the American version of this game. We've also got the arcade version of this game, and we see that X-Men Children of the Atom is on this arcade cabinet. But I got the Japanese version because Santino wanted to play as Juggernaut, and Juggernaut is a hidden character exclusive to the Japanese version. Plus, I just love the Japanese box art. I think it's fantastic. I love the Japanese take on the Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld style of X-Men. And also, if you take a look at the instruction manual, it is like filled with really nice American comic book art that you can see right here. It really puts the American instruction manual to shame, which is pretty usual with Japanese instruction manuals. American instruction manuals, a lot of the time they tended to be pretty utilitarian. But I think if we take a look at this, there's no question that this is just filled with the coolest panels of X-Men artwork. Really getting that American pop art, Americana, MTV, dynamic comic book pop art edge that Jim Lee brought us in the early 90s. Sega Saturn absolutely had beautiful instruction manuals, and X-Men Children of the Atom is no different. So we're going to start off by playing some Children of the Atom, and we'll see where the evening takes us. I started this stream without a particular theme in mind, just because we've got a lot of cool games, and I'm sure we're just going to be talking about a whole host of stuff. Obviously, presidential politics is on everyone's mind, and I'm sure that's going to come up. I do not have the Saturn version of Lunar. If I can get a English translation of it, I'd love to get it. I have Lunar for the Sony PlayStation, and I got this in the Christmas of 1999. Christmas. Is this Christmas or Easter? I want to say this was Easter of 1999, and I got this along with Street Fighter 3, New Generation, and Double Impact. So the Easter Bunny was good to me that year, and Lunar is a fantastic game. Working Designs cranked up the difficulty on the US version of this. So I actually ended up beating that with a Game Shark. I'm not one of those people that minds to cheat at video games if I'm in a hurry, particularly if I'm playing it mostly for the story. So to answer your question, I love Lunar. I have Lunar also for the Sega CD. So I think we can find that right here. And we can play the Sega CD Lunar tonight if you would like. We do have the Lunar Silver Star Story on the Sega CD. I have not beaten this version. This is the original Lunar. I don't have Magical Knight Rayearth, but I do want to order it. I know that is the last Sega Saturn game, and if I did get it, I would get a repro of it. This is the American version of X-Men Children of the Atom, and you can see the box art is nice, but I think it doesn't really hold a candle. I mean, I like it, don't get me wrong, but I definitely think the Japanese box art is more aesthetically pleasing and artistic. So, yeah, there's that. So, here's our Sega Saturn and Sega CD. Well, we have the American Sega Saturn games, the Sega CD games, then we have the Japanese Sega Saturn games over here. And the Japanese Sega Saturn games just had some beautiful, beautiful casing. Take a look at, let's see. Well, this one's pretty tame here, but here's Virtua Fighter. We've got, Nights into Dreams. Saturn was, a very popular video game system in Japan, and there's good reason for that, because it's a very, very good system, and it just never got good advertising in the United States, and I think that Bernie Stolar really was not a very good head of Sega, due to the fact that he just left great, interesting games sitting in Japan. I have no idea what his logic was. When the Sega Mega Drive got brought over to the United States and was the Sega Genesis, they brought everything over. They brought Phantasy Star 2 over. They brought, they repackaged games, put celebrities on them like Tommy Lasorda Baseball. Just whatever they had in Japan that looked good, they just brought it over to the United States. And Sega Saturn had awesome 2D fighting games. It had, shmups. It had RPGs. It had good 3D games, albeit in, smaller variety than the Sony PlayStation, which was easier to program for in terms of 3D. But there's just a lot of really good games, and people play good games. And they also marketed the Sega Saturn like crap. I mean, I supported the Sega Saturn wholeheartedly when it was out. But I remember watching those commercials and thinking, they reminded me of the Mr. Plow commercials that Homer did when Barney, was the Plow King and he was desperate to compete. And there's just some guy in a toga holding a snow globe, and he throws the snow globe at the floor. And when the snow blows away, it says Mr. Plow. And Bart's like, "Dad, was that your commercial?" And Homer's like, "I don't know." And that was pretty much what the American Sega Saturn commercials were like. I bought Linkle Liver Story for the Sega Saturn from a comic shop, but I don't have a Japanese Saturn. I actually was very lucky and did get a modded Japanese Saturn that can play everything, burned games, Japanese games, American games. I ended up getting it just by chatting with a person on Etsy, and I mentioned how much I liked Sega Saturn. He mentioned that he had this Sega Saturn, and he actually sent it to me ahead of time. I think I kind of unintentionally haggled for it. So it's like, well, I don't have any money to buy that right now. And he's like, well, how about I send it to you for free right now, and you can pay me later for it. And I did. I did pay him later for it. It was really, it's a little bit of an investment. I think I spent a couple $100 on it, but it's a modded, refurbished Japanese Sega Saturn. And I have a 96 American Sega Saturn upstairs, which is also very nice. So, cool. All right. Well, why don't we get out and play some Children of the Atom on the Sega Saturn, and this is the Japanese version. And we'll have some fun. Alright, so our normal stand for streaming sadly broke. So we do have a little bit of a different setup, but I think it works just fine. And let's get down to gaming here. I really do like the way Japanese writing looks. Yeah, international channel, man. It's like I was talking before you got on here about how much I like Pluto TV, and I mean it's definitely not as I don't know, not as you don't get as much international programming as international channel, but you do get a lot of nice subtitled anime, which is something that I definitely liked on the international channel. We got some Stardust Crusaders on in the background here, and that's some good stuff. Although I definitely miss, I do miss Japanese music variety shows. I mean, I know Hey 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 isn't around anymore, but I really loved Hey 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 Music Champ. I loved watching Music Station. I was paying for TV Japan for a while, but it just stopped being worth it because, Music Station was hardly on, and the kind of programming they had on was, it was all right, but I don't know, it was not. I don't think it was necessarily the best that Japan had to offer in terms of pop culture variety. It was just kind of a lot of NHK, just a lot of random NHK stuff, and once in a while, and a few animes here and there. The Akuma code is a bit tricky, and I didn't do it right. So we'll start off with Wolverine. I'm probably the best with Iceman on this game, but Wolverine is my favorite X-Man. This game is great because it combines the absolute best of the spirit of the 90s X-Men comic books with the 90s X-Men Saturday morning cartoon. Capcom got it perfect in terms of I think capturing the spirit of X-Men. And when I played this for the first time in Court Lane's bowling alley, I just was blown away. I could not believe that I was, seeing a video game that so perfectly got the style, got the personalities. It was literally like a comic book come to life. And everything was just spot on, and I loved it. And when I got my Sega Saturn, this was why I got it. This is why I got a Sega Saturn. Right on. I do have an episode of the Japanese TV Tokyo broadcast of X-Men, and another channel that has that same episode is Caboose's Retro Obscurities, I think is what it's called. And I believe he had that video up before me. Then I think it was down on his channel. I uploaded it just for the sake of preservation. I found it. I can't remember if I found it on his channel or if I found it on some like Japanese YouTube style thing, and it was in like 3 pieces. And I just edited the 3 together and put a little intro to it. But, it's something from the Japanese version. The show didn't... Are you talking about Hey 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 didn't last long enough? Because I agree. I mean, what did it last from, like, 94 to 2010? I mean, it had a nice run. I think the thing with Hey 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 that killed it was... they really got away from the formula. Pop Japan TV, that was a good show. Yeah, Pop Japan TV was a good show. I know that you've uploaded some of the not music episodes of Pop Japan TV. Yeah, it was great. For those of you guys who don't know, Pop Japan TV was a Sony of Japan. It was basically kind of like a promo show for Japanese music that came out of Sony. And at the time it was on, it had they had a nice mixture of artists. I mean, my favorite was TM Revolution. I'm definitely more of the synth pop type. When the show was on, it was leaning more toward the kind of R&B, more soulful Japanese music. It was good for sure. It was nice. They would play a lot of Crystal K, but they did play some other nice. They played some synth pop stuff from like Team Revolution, Zone. They had Tommy February. It had a lot of really nice stuff on it. I really liked the Pop Japan TV. It used to be on Fridays. I used to tape it all the time, and it was great stuff. I mean, I've still got my international channel tapes, and I don't know. I don't have an easy way to upload the stuff. I'm a little gun shy about copyright strikes. I want to preserve this stuff. I've looked at places like Internet Archive, and I really honestly have a hard time making sense out of how to use it. And that could just be, my lack of trying to understand. But I mean, I'll look at it, and it doesn't seem intuitive to me. So I'm just kind of like, I don't know about this, and then I kind of forget. I mean, I know there's other places like Kazaa, not Kazaa. I wish I remember Kazaa. Kazaa was great. But I know there's other places, like a Daily Motion and things like that. But I mean, I could do that. I could start uploading some stuff to Daily Motion. I don't know. I have upload them to Instagram. How do you even do that, man? Because Instagram uses Instagram is primarily a phone app, though, right? I know. I don't even. I mean, I'll look into it. I will look into it. I just don't know. I mean, maybe Facebook. Facebook's weird though because it's more of like a personal thing, and like my YouTube channel is more for like my public personality. I mean, not that I still share myself with people on YouTube, but this is more like the public Noel, whereas Facebook is more like screened, So yeah, I know there's Instagram TV. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I guess I could like digitize them and then put them on the Google Drive and try to upload some stuff. I mean, does that work? Do people do that? Because normally what I see is people on Instagram TV. It's usually just like Ja Rule or something, like talking for 5 minutes, or Candace Owens or something. Whoever I decide to follow. I just upload some of my videos, but I use a PC. Are you on Instagram? I'll follow you on Instagram. Ice on the beach. Yeah, no, sure. I'll absolutely follow you on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I'm second Noel. I mean, I'm not as good as the first Noel, because, that's Jesus, and you're not topping that, so. Playing some Bengals on JoJo. Yes, I am on Instagram. Cool! Oh, hey, oh, you walk like an Egyptian. All the kids in the marketplace say, way, oh, way, oh. I was actually just watching the X-Men, the animated series episode on Disney Plus with Iceman, where the X-Men fight the 90s X Factor. I followed you on, I don't really use Twitter. I do have a Twitter I have not used it. I don't remember when the last time I even used Twitter was. I can't get into it, First of all, with all the, the woke Twitter and just, it just seems like it's a toxic, shithole, basically, not to swear, but Twitter seems kind of crazy, and there's no way for me to, like, really visually express myself, and so that makes Twitter not as interesting to me, and I can't even express myself in terms of my intellect or whatever with like a substantial post on current events or anything. You're just kind of left to these blurbs, and Trump can do that pretty well, but I don't know, it's just not my style. I mean, I feel like that Twitter, if Twitter's your thing, that's cool, but we'll just I don't know, we'll see what happens. Silver Samurai here. We kind of have the music a little lower when we're talking over it. I'm also kind of add JoJo on too. And we just beat Silver Samurai, but I guess I should probably lower the JoJo and pump up the music for you guys in TV land. I'm just kind of having fun talking and so on and so forth. Another thing I love about this game is not only how nice the character designs look, but they used pictures from the panels of the X-Men comic book for the frames of animation in this game. So it's like you literally see, like iconic comic book frames. Darn it! Get animated with fluidity. It's fantastic. I like how on Facebook you refer to the Battle of Frieza and Goku for the election. Yeah, 5 minutes, huh? Yes. The election has actually been a lot of fun. It's probably not going to turn out the way that I like. My students ask about it, and I would say more of my students are for Biden, but I have a decent amount that are for Trump. I don't know, man. It's pretty evenly split. I don't know. I'm seeing that the town that I live in is, wait, was there an election this week? Nah, no. Nick, I don't know what you're talking about, man. And welcome, Nick. So, I don't know. I'm telling my students that, as it stands right now, it looks like Biden is going to win, but Trump has cards that he's going to play and has every right to play. He's still got moves on the chessboard, and he is going to play them and see where it leads. Because at this point, he's really doesn't have anything to lose. He has nothing to lose. So, because these elections are so insanely close, and we've got these unprecedented, mail-in ballot system. He has every right to ask for recounts, possible audits. To check and verify that these votes that are coming in are above board, and that is his right. Especially when you have these elections being decided by less than a percentage point. It is 2000 all over again in a lot of ways, except we have multiple Floridas. Like in 2000 it was just Florida, but now you have a handful of swing states that are essentially dead heats it's looking more like, Biden is up by a percent or less. But then it's, you've got these mail-ins that I'm not saying they're not legitimate, but I'm saying they could be. Mail fraud, voter fraud. These are things that happen. It's not above the spectrum of reality. In addition to human error, margin of error, so Trump, considering how high the stakes are, as it stands right now, Biden is, it looks like Biden's going to win unless the last, handful of votes of these states, swing heavily toward Trump. Which there's a possibility that they could. It doesn't look likely. But, because of the combination of margin of error and human error and potential for corruption, Trump has every right to ask for recounts, verifications, things like that. And that's all there is to it, and we'll just see what happens. If Donald Trump loses, he has nothing to be ashamed of, because he won half of the country despite having literally every establishment force working against him. The mass media, the intelligence community, the Democratic Party, Hollywood, professional sporting leagues, progressive, international sentiment. All of these things, nonstop, day in, day out for the last 4 years, ruthlessly antagonized him, and he ruthlessly antagonized right back. I think Trump is going to use the courts, and he has the right to use the courts, to make sure that the election is going the way that it's going, you know? Like, and the thing that people are saying is like, oh, Trump wants to stop votes from being counted. Trump does not want to stop votes from being counted, because if he stopped counting the votes, he would lose. He's got to, like, if you stop counting the votes as is, he's still going to lose. You have to try to make sure that the thing is like, if there's something wrong with the votes, they should not be counted. If there is something right with the votes, they need to be counted. And I think what Trump is hoping is that there is some kind of screwed up nature to the mail-in process, and that's going to knock enough votes away from Biden to put him over the top. And he has the right to try to do that. I mean, especially considering the fact that if you take a look at, you know, Georgia, which is already going to be in a state of recount, Biden in the first count won that by 1,000 votes. I mean, that's like nothing. I mean, there's 49, what is that, 49.4 to 49.4, you know? So as a history teacher, how close has this country been to civil war? We're not going to go to civil war. Absolutely not. Like, I mean, the big thing with the Civil War, I mean, I hope we're not. I mean, I can't speak definitively about anything, but I think that, oh man, Juggernaut won? That sucks. All right. The reason the Civil War happened was two things. One, the economic system of the South, being slavery, was thought to be endangered by the Republican Party. So the South just decided to get out and make their own country. The other reason the South left is because it was being disrespected, you know, in terms of their sense of honor, their sense of dignity. And the states' rights issue is also a thing. I mean, states had threatened to secede without the issue of slavery, and it had been done over states' rights. And we're talking about, like, New England states. So, you know, secession, due to things like respect and constitutional debate, like, that happens, you know. And if you add to that the fact that, you know, the government's economy is deeply intertwined with their sense of honor, that was the formula for the South seceding. And the real thing that made the South secede, and here's where your point about Civil War, you know, I mean, I don't, like, we're not to the point of this happening, thankfully, but the another main reason the South seceded is because their votes didn't count anymore. They were outnumbered in the system, right? So it's like, the South completely voted one way, and they were not represented at all in the outcome of the presidential election for Lincoln. So that was another big reason why they're like, okay, fine, let's make our own country. If our electoral process starts coming down to the people in the cities voting one way and the people in the rural areas voting another way, and because people in the cities outnumber people in rural areas, then they're just going to always be able to overrule the people in rural areas, and that can lead to problems because people need to feel enfranchised. So, you know, that's definitely an issue. I mean, the Democrats tend to win the popular vote because they're popular in cities. And, you know, increasingly the voting bases of the Democrats and the Republicans are getting to be very, very different. The voting base for the Democrats is a combination of poor African Americans in cities, identity politics enthusiasts, you know, rich white snobs, and the powers that be. That's the Democrats' party base. The Republicans' party base is increasingly evangelical Christians, the working class, you know, free-thinking minorities, and rogue members of the bourgeoisie. So that is the Republican base. It's basically the rural proletariat, the rogue bourgeoisie, and Christian conservatives. And, you know, the minorities who want to break rank and respect, you know, Trump's kind of a strength and self-sufficiency aesthetic. I mean, if you compare those two bases, for the most part, the Republican base seems more appealing, you know. So yeah, that's what's happening right now. And where you live is definitely affecting how you vote. I mean, if you take a look at a map, all the rural area, like this country is completely red because the rural areas are voting Democrat, and then you get these, domes of blue everywhere, and the dome is in a. I think that's like these cities are kind of like worlds unto themselves. I'm not saying it's like us versus them, or if you go to a city and you live in a rural area, like you don't fit in or anything. I mean, that could happen, but I mean, people are people. We all get along. We can get along with each other. We can relate to each other. We can see, merits in each other's culture and shared experiences and things like that. So I'm not saying that that we can't relate or anything but the cultures are different. I mean, go to New York City and it's like it's its own little place. You can feel you can just feel the difference there, and how easy it is to get just live in that bubble. So I don't know. That's man. I tried to jump that. Do you think the electoral college should be abolished? No, I don't think the electoral college should be abolished because the big cities will completely dominate everything, and then people in the country will, like people in the Midwest, people in upstate New York, they will have no voice. People in upstate New York already don't have much of a voice in state politics. I'm going to tell you this right now. Nobody in upstate New York, very few people in upstate New York like Andrew Cuomo. People in upstate New York bitch about him all the time. The teachers don't like him. The workers up here don't like him. He's very unpopular in upstate New York, but he keeps getting elected governor because of downstate. And I mean, I was a Bernie Sanders voter when he ran against Hillary Clinton. All of upstate New York voted for Bernie Sanders, except for the pockets of big cities. Syracuse, New York, Albany, like those places. I mean, Syracuse isn't that big of a city, but I mean, it's got enough of that urban character that has that Democratic base that I described in it, that it cut for Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. Same thing with Donald Trump. Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders are very similar, and people don't necessarily always want to admit it. There's a reason why Trump at his rallies panders to Bernie Sanders people. I mean, Trump kind of makes fun of Bernie Sanders, but he treats Bernie Sanders with kind of a respect. And that's because Trump knows that there's bleed over between his appeal and Bernie's appeal. I'm sure I've said this story before, but when I lived in Johnson City, because I went to college at SUNY Binghamton, he'll be the, Cuomo will be the attorney general. I really hope not. That is such bullshit. All right, anyway, but I'm going to tell you right now, I lived in Johnson City, which is a depressed former industrial hub of upstate New York, okay? Closed factories. The whole city is basically just, the working class, the sub-working class, and poor black people. And then the old timers who have stayed in for, from the old glory days of like Endicott Johnson and things like that, when it was actually like a manufacturing center. And the two candidates that had traction in that area, I used to eat at a diner there while I waited for the bus to go to school. And the two candidates that had everyone abuzz were Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. And that was because there was a sense, I used to talk about this with cab drivers, there was a sense of alienation in that place, that they weren't getting listened to, that it was helpless, and like nothing was going to change. And then Bernie came along. He said he was a socialist. He was an honest he seemed like he was honest enough, and he was a person that challenged the establishment, and he resonated with a lot of the same complaints that people had, and he seemed like a good person that actually believed in what he said. And then there was Donald Trump, who was a professional wrestler, businessman, who didn't seem as authentic as Bernie, but he tapped into that sense of, this system is bullshit and I'm going to bully it. And that appealed to people. And plus, Donald Trump is not pretentious in the sense that he doesn't come off as like, I'm so cultured and you're not. I'm the Ubermensch and you're the one-dimensional man. Trump isn't like that. Trump Trump, again, he's in the WWE Hall of Fame. Like, I mean, he knows how to pander to the crowd and have a rapport with the crowd because he is kind of one of the guys, like that's part of his appeal. And he's a strong person in a time when there's a lot of uncertainty, and not just like it's not a question of any port in the storm. It's like the Democrats are increasingly moral relativists, and Trump is saying, I stand for basic things and I bully the bullies, and that's what makes him appealing to a lot of people. And there's good things about that appeal. And I think if we got a Trump-Bernie standoff, like we had Trump versus Bernie running against each other, we would have really good discussions. We'd have really good discussions about things that are important to this country. But the Democratic Party sees fit to, a lot of urban black voters don't like Bernie, and because they always tend to vote for the establishment candidate. So the coalition of, poor urban blacks and the party establishment, Wall Street, just always see fit to make sure that Bernie does not get the nomination. That's not, I'm not saying 100% of African Americans don't like Bernie Sanders. I mean, I have black friends that like Bernie Sanders. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, the core of the part of the black base of the party, they vote for the establishment person of the party. And part of that, I think, has to do with Reconstruction culture, because, when the Republican Party, was the party advocating for African Americans after the Civil War, it was kind of like, go with the Republicans, they'll take care of you, because it was very dangerous to be black in the South. And the Republican Party took care of them. Well, now the Democrats have the reputation of the party that's going to take care of them. They're stable. They give them social programs. That's changing. You're starting to see a lot of African Americans start to go back to the Republicans. Not a lot, but enough, because the Republicans are getting that macho persona, and a lot of the Democrat policies that have been used in urban black communities aren't helping, or they're not helping enough. The culture is, very self-destructive in a lot of those places. I mean, there's great stuff there. I'm not, like, I'm from a place that's kind of poor, and I'm sure people would, like, kind of look at it from afar and say, oh my God, that place is a hellhole. And it's not. And I'm sure it's the same thing in urban black communities. Like, I'm sure there's community there and belonging and stuff like that. I'm just saying that there's also a lot in Cortland too. There's a different kind of crime. But there's crime in poor communities, and that's got to get addressed. That's not saying that those places are bad places. Hey, Diego, man, I'm happy you're here. International channel. I have you now on Facebook along with Nick. Cool. Yeah, good that Nick's a cool dude. Diego, we are playing some X-Men Children of the Atom, and I'm just ranting about politics. So I'm in my element right now. The presidential election has been very interesting, and I think another interesting thing, is that despite the fact that the media has, called, Trump an evil psycho racist for every day in day out for the last 4 years, he's diversified the base of the Republican Party to increasingly be the common man and add more minorities to it. So it's interesting. But I don't know what's going to happen. I think Noel is my homie. Yeah, that's right. Good deal. My home. Yeah, I'm all your homies. I know you got this. Well, we'll beat him here. Juggernaut, crush. I'm really good with Iceman at this game as well. Darn it. Yes, this is election. Well, it's I think kind of united a lot of people. The country has been very anxiety ridden, and it's almost like now there's kind of a camaraderie of shared experience of, wow, who's going to be the president? And you're kind of watching the horse race together, and it's nice. How long that will last? Once one side wins and starts acting like assholes, I don't know how long that kind of sense of we're all in this together. It was kind of like that when COVID first started, there was kind of this sense of like, okay, guys, cut the bullshit, and we're all going to be on the same page here. And I think Trump had a decent amount of goodwill with enough people when the lockdowns first started. My mom hates Trump, and he's like, well, now he's having to act presidential, and it's true. I mean, I feel like he did a decent job when COVID first started, and even afterward. I mean, I think his push toward opening things up rhetorically, there's room for criticism with that, but it's not like insanely out of the ordinary or criminally reckless. I don't think it is. I think he's said, be careful but open things up, and there's not enough clarity or specificity to that, but I mean, that is basically what's happening. People are being careful and they're opening things up, at least where I live. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't see. I just think that the media hates Trump so much that nothing he was going to do ever was going to be allowed to be treated positively, because I think the media took it upon themselves to just ensure Trump was never going to get reelected, and it looks like he almost got reelected. And if there's going to be any validity to Trump's claims that something fishy went on in the election, all you have to do is look at the eyes of the liberal media during election night. I mean, the Fox News people looked very calm and happy because it looked so good for Trump. And then Rachel Maddow had concern in her face. Donna Brazile looked like she wanted to go jump off a bridge, I mean, it looked like Trump was going to win because he had such a commanding lead everywhere. And then, from Trump's perspective, it's like, okay, so where are all these votes coming from that all of a sudden I'm, losing things now? So, I mean, he's within his right to, take a good hard look at this. And it would be in Biden's interest, assuming everything is above board, to let him so that, it's all, 100% clear that everything's above board. All right, we won. Good deal. Hey, Caleb, how's it going, brother? Noel, if Biden wins, what do you think he will do for America? Things will just go back to how they were under Obama. I think there'll be people in big cities will be happy that he's not Trump. I wouldn't be surprised if more foreign wars started. I think there's going to be more funding for social programs, which will probably be good. And I think the president, we have a fairly stable system in terms of the fact that, like, no matter who's in charge, the system kind of chugs along. So I don't think Biden is, gonna, it's not gonna be like the end of the world. Like when Trump won, people were like, oh my God, he's going to throw everyone he doesn't like in concentration camps. Like, what evidence do you have of that? Like, what is wrong with you? I mean, I can kind of relate to that because when I was young and stupid in college, I don't think it was stupid, but when I was kind of young and not thinking clearly, when I was an undergrad in college in 2004, I was so upset that John Kerry didn't win against George W. Bush, and I was in a terrible funk for like 2 weeks, and it made absolutely, it didn't make any freaking difference, come on, I'm so close. Jeez. Darn it. You're going to be 14 tomorrow. Happy birthday, man. That is awesome. Anyway, dude, like the president operates within a power framework that has existed for centuries, really. Definitely since the post-World War II period. And I think one of the reasons why Trump is so unpopular with the establishment is that he questions some of that. Not that he's this great, advocate for... He's not like Gandhi or anything like that. He's someone who'll say, oh yeah, this is bullshit. How can I make money? It's kind of and like the fact that he's questioning like these kind of sacred power structures in Washington and trying to basically, challenge them and then promote himself, that cannot be allowed to stand in the eyes of a lot of these people. And so, I mean, it's an insult to their power. It's an insult to their culture. And they can't stand that they're losing to someone as gauche as Donald Trump. I mean, and that's part of Trump's appeal, is that he, it doesn't have pretension. But there's plenty to criticize about Trump, but it's like the thing is, it's like it's just not done with any kind of context. It's just like if you criticize Trump and said, okay, he's doing this and this is a part of this trend in American culture, and here's what other politicians have done similarly to him, and here's how he's doing it the same, here's how he's doing it different. Nobody does that. They're all just like, this dude. If you hate Donald Trump, it's like he's like this communist neo-Confederate, Nazi nightmare. And if you'll like him, he's like your guy. But none of that lacks a lot of that just lacks context, man. You just got to look at the realities of the situation here and be sober in your analysis, which has not happened. I'm going to pause this and see what's going on here. Trump only cares about his wealth, like every billionaire out there. No, I mean, I think that Trump likes the people that like him. And I agree that Trump's wealth is of immense importance to him. But I think if you like Trump, he'll like you. And if you challenge Trump, he'll bully you. That seems to be the trend with him. And I mean, Trump seems like he enjoys palling around with a whole host of people. But I would agree with you that, his bottom line is to make an incredible amount of money for him and his friends. And I think the common person doesn't necessarily resent that. Because the working class in America does not resent the success of others. That is one thing that has always puzzled liberals and people in colleges, who, are kind of resentful people themselves. It's like, they're like, well, why aren't you as resentful and angry as me? And it's because, like, people who work hard in this country see the potential for them to be successful, and they don't resent other people's success, And if you can respect them, they'll respect you. And that's how the working class tends to act in the United States. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. So, I don't know. Could Trump be better? Absolutely, though. I mean, Donald Trump reminds me a lot of Vince McMahon. He reminds me a lot of Vince McMahon, right? Both have populist appeal. Take a look at Vince McMahon's audience. It's Trump's voters. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I mean, I'm a huge professional wrestling fan. Going to a professional wrestling show is one of the best things you can do because you can strike up a conversation with anyone there because you all have this shared experience of liking pro wrestling, of being a part of the audience, a part of the entertainment, a part of you're the spectators of the play. You relate to or are interested in the characters that are designed to resonate with you, right? So Vince McMahon is a billionaire who makes his money on resonating with the common working person and the sub-working class person. And that's what Trump does, And is Vince McMahon always an ethical, good person? Absolutely not, But does he kind of lack pretension? And is he like someone who knows how to play the game that got him to the dance? It's the same thing with Trump, and that's why they're friends. And so I'm an Eric Bischoff guy, so I was not really rooting for Vince McMahon in the Monday Night Wars, so but I respect Vince McMahon's accomplishments. I have not watched WWE in a while, though. Darn it. Come on. Berserker Barrage. He's going to try to go for his move here. Darn it, he got it off. I thought I could block it in time. But Caleb, happy birthday in advance. Man, that's awesome. I'm happy you're going to be 14. How's the 9th grade treating you? If you're still here. If you're not, I'm hoping it's going well. Did you see the interview of Andrew Yang's comment on WWE? I did not. You got to admit, whether you support Trump or not, he is very entertaining in politics. He is. No, it's true, and I mean, I'm not a registered Republican, and I think that there's a ton of credible criticism you can levy at Trump. It's just that I just wanted to be done fairly and within context. And yes, he's, it's the our politics has become entertaining for all the right and all the wrong reasons. So, what did Andrew Yang say about WWE? I have no idea. Man, I really like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Just hearing that Bangles music. Do it, man. Come on, do your super move. Darn it. Oh, man. Oh, JoJo's over. I think they probably have like Hunter x Hunter on right now. The question here is, can you get in Magneto's, blind spot here before he launches a super move? Because he is open for an attack. He's going to do it. Yeah, there it is. Come on, man. I was doing my Berserker Barrage. That's such bullshit right there. Yang was suggesting that if Biden was president, he would investigate employee mistreatment in the WWE. Okay. No, I have no problem with that. If I doubt that he will. I think that professional wrestlers absolutely should have a union. I understand that there are some professional wrestlers who don't want that. And their whole thing is like, oh, just, work your way to the top and hang on to your spot. But I think it would definitely make sense for them to have a union. I mean, unions can be corrupt, though, so... I mean, the big problem with employee mistreatment at WWE is, well, there was the whole sex scandal thing where, Pat Patterson was basically, seemingly asking people for sexual favors in exchange for pushing them up the card. So that's gross. And it's, skin crawling stuff. But... the other thing is that, these wrestlers are called independent contractors, and they're definitely not independent contract. If you wrestle for WWE, you cannot wrestle for AEW. Like, you can't do an AEW show. That's not allowed. So you're not an independent contractor. It doesn't pay healthcare for their talent. I will be fair to Vince. WWE does suck now. I mean, they do. It's not entertaining. There's some stuff on there that's kind of interesting. I try to watch it sometimes, but a lot of the time it doesn't hold my interest. I mean, I like it. Don't get me wrong. If I'm saying the WWE sucks, I'm not saying that it can never be good again, and that there aren't things about the current product that I enjoy. That I like the genre of professional wrestling, and I like some of the talent in the WWE, but I don't think that the stories are good. I think a lot of the talent doesn't resonate with the fans, and that's why WWE is bad. I think it's overproduced, and not in a good way. Like, I like overproduced 80s synth pop, but everything in WWE seems lifeless and mechanical. And that's, I think, WWE's problem creatively. To the fact that they don't pay their wrestlers health care, yeah, they need to pay their wrestlers health care, but I will say in their defense, I mean, there are definitely times when Vince McMahon has, paid for surgeries, paid for rehabs, things like that. So, I mean, it's not like they're just, totally without a conscience. I mean, they've put Scott Hall through rehab I don't know how many times. So I mean, there's kind of that issue of like, how much do you need the safety net? Which you need the safety net. I mean, you need to have like the guarantee of workers' rights. But the answer to that some of these, corporate bosses will do is say like, oh, we take care of our employees. You don't need that. Well, you kind of do need it, because if you decide to stop taking care of your employees, then the employees are screwed without a guarantee. But, as long as the man in charge isn't an asshole, it's like, it reminds me of slavery when you hear these stories about like just slave owners, it's like, well, it's nice. They took care of their slaves. But they're also slaves, so you got to get a better system in place. Like the taking care of your underlings is good. The fact that the system is all screwed up, that's got to change, So there's no reason why you can't take care of your employees and have guarantees in place. So I don't know. That's just kind of what I think about things. We're so close to beating Magneto. But not like that. Man. I do really like AEW quite a bit. I try to catch all or at least some of their programming every week. So that's good. Kenny Omega has not been pushed properly in AEW at all. And he's got pull there. I mean, I remember hearing on various wrestling podcasts, and I think Mark Madden said this, and I really don't like Mark Madden's work in WCW, but I remember him saying that he heard officials in New Japan Pro Wrestling say that if Kenny Omega was given creative control over his own character, he would not know what to do with himself, because he would not want to promote himself, because he essentially would be afraid of the whole Dave Meltzer, thing about like, oh, he won't put anyone over. Well, the thing is like, if you don't put anyone over, your character doesn't appear to be. I'm sorry. If you actually act selfishly, and let your character win a bunch, then it ends up getting perceived as strong. And it's like, who cares if Dave Meltzer's like, oh, well, he didn't give this young up-and-comer enough of a chance. It's like, this isn't real. Like, professional wrestling is about character development and story and how well you perform the craft in order to engage the audience with your athleticism and your personality and how well you can play a character that resonates with people. That's what professional wrestling is about. It's not about oh, hey, my source feels cheated, by this guy, put him over. Like that, the fact that you're like young or, that you're young and talented doesn't mean that, just you winning fake matches is going to make you popular. It's a whole process of you building a rapport with the audience and appearing to be strong at the same time. And, and you gotta know when to pull the trigger creatively on certain things. And they have not done. Kenny Omega has lost too many matches in AEW, I think. He needs to be the heavyweight champ there. We are so close. Oh, did I get him? I got him. All right, we beat the game. It's real to me too, damn it. Let's enjoy Wolverine's ending, and then I'll check the chat. See, Diego and International Channel for Life. We're talking about the wonders of the International Channel. So we have the Acolytes right here on the Avalon. And I just want to say how fantastic this game looks on this JVC professional video monitor going through RGB SCART. Crisp, vibrant images here. Go, man, go. You know, JVC monitors I've heard are just as good as Sony monitors, but much less expensive. I really like Wolverine's ending, you know, because it shows his unrequited love for Jean Grey. You get that, the torn picture like you see in the cartoon. The animation here is so much better than in the cartoon, the American cartoon. I mean, the American cartoon's animation wasn't bad. It certainly wasn't bad by today's animation standards, but this game looks a lot like the opening. It looks like a lot like the opening credits to the Japanese TV Tokyo version of X-Men. You know, when Batman Hush got animated by DC, it didn't look anything like Jim Lee's artwork, and people are like, oh, well, it's just because Jim Lee's artwork is too intricate to turn into a cartoon. It's like, yeah, that's not really true, because if you take a look at the opening credits to the Japanese version of X-Men, they do a really nice job adapting Jim Lee's artwork, and, you know, that's my thought on that. Where's oh, there it is, okay. Trying to see where my button to input my initials is. Oops, my initial is an H. Ah, whatever. That's not my initial, but either way, it's all good. Hey, International for Channel for Life, Noel, and I saw your amazing golden treasure of Pop Japan TV on your Facebook page. Please upload more videos. Yes, that is awesome. Looking at you playing Children of the Atom makes me think how it's funny that Capcom made the early Marvel fighting games, but Marvel ended up calling the shots for Infinite. Yeah, for sure. And Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, I think, had a lot of problems with it. I think the gameplay to it was not as good as Children of the Atom's gameplay. I agree that X-Men is better than Avengers. But dude, like if they could make an Avengers fighting game like Children of the Atom, I mean, honestly, I think that if you made Children of the Atom, or not Children of the Atom, if you made like a new Marvel versus game, like a Capcom versus Marvel game or Marvel versus Capcom game, like you know, make it like King of Fighters 13, use that really nice, you know, high quality 2D animation to it, I think that would be fantastic. And if you use the Avengers for that, I think that would be cool. I think the problem is that, you know, the character designs were very ugly on Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. The character roster was not good. There were no endings for the characters. The music sucked. It was not good music. It was this kind of warmed over, you know, boom, 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 boom. You know, it was so they were trying to use that cinematic universe style music, which does not fit for a fighting game, you know, that's supposed to be vibrant and colorful and exciting. So I think that game was just kind of it was a hot mess, as they like to say, and yeah, it wasn't good. I think that Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was not bad at all. I think they did a decent job of capturing the 2000s comic book style feel, which, I mean, I don't like that style as much as the Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld style, but it's still cool. They did a nice job with the The artwork, the colors were vibrant, the gameplay was good, the music was good. It was better than Marvel vs. Capcom 2's music. But, yeah, 4 was a cluster, man. It was not good. And, that might have killed the franchise, which would suck, but it's quite possible. What do we want to play right now? Why don't we play... We could play some... We got the Sega Saturn hooked up. Play some Vampire Hunter. Get Donovan going here. I'm actually walking home while watching you stream. Well, yeah, good deal. Well, make sure you watch out for traffic. I don't know how San Diego is traffic-wise. Again, more pretty Sega Saturn Japanese box art. There's Morgan, everyone's favorite succubus. Yeah, I mean, I actually liked the American cartoon of Darkstalkers. I didn't like that they made Morgan so weird, though. I have a student right now who's, like... So he always like, you have to do a video, like a reaction video to pro wrestling. I love this kid. He's really funny. He's like, you gotta do it on your live stream. So we've got TNA here on Pluto TV. So we'll throw in a little bit of a reaction video here. So we got Father James Mitchell, who used to manage Mortis in WCW, Chris Canyon. And he's going up against Rhino right here. And let's see what's happening. Looks like we got a table match here in the six-sided ring. Eric Bischoff used to hated the six-sided ring. I thought the six-sided ring was cool. Hogan didn't like it because I think he felt like he couldn't move around in it that well. I think the talent could take or leave it. It did give TNA a distinct look. People were always like, oh, you can't. The six-sided ring is TNA's identity. It's not really true. Because when the Asylum was going on, the Asylum had some great stuff happening, and that was a four-sided ring. But the six-sided ring it was kind of like the octagon for UFC. I don't know, it was six-sided would be the sexagon or something like that. So, but, yeah. Oh, I guess I put the camera away from the oh my god moment. He went through a table! Oh my god! So, Uh-oh, the thumbtacks are coming into play. Hopefully we don't get into trouble here. I mean, this is free TV, so it's not like TNA is making any money on... I mean, they're making money because of their deal with Pluto TV, so... Take a look at this fashion here from, what's got to be like early 2000s here. So, Rhino with the crimson mask. Rhino, the final ECW champion, I believe. Is that correct? I think Rhino is the last ECW champion. I remember he, allegedly burned the belt, but you couldn't tell it was, the actual belt, because it was, in a pillow sack, which made it kind of lame. TNA. See what? James Mitchell with his, evil staff right there. I think I saw that James Mitchell is back in TNA, and he's got his head shaved, which is a good look. I recommend it, so... good stuff here. I like Abyss. I think my favorite version of Abyss is Joseph Parks, the psycho lawyer who comes out to LA Law's theme music. People like to crap on Hogan's TNA, and that is, I think that's TNA's high point, in all honesty. I think that TNA, from its inception in the Nashville Asylum up through when Hogan left, that was the peak of TNA, and I think that people who criticize the Hogan period of TNA, I personally don't think they really know what they're talking about, because TNA had the best roster there was, and and I thought their stories were pretty interesting. Thought the Aces and Eights storyline was cool. It was appointment viewing for me to watch TNA Impact on Thursday nights. And I really miss it. And, TNA now, they can't fill a cafeteria. So, that's sad. Awesome. What if you put recorded tapes of International Channel? Would love seeing that. Yep. No, yeah, for sure. I'm working on it, man. I know it's... I don't know what International Channel for Life wants to do. I definitely would like to try to get more International Channel stuff up on to the internet, and we'll just have to figure out a way how to do it, quite frankly. So, without further ado, why don't we play some of Vampire Hunter: The Night Warriors. Or no, it's Vampire Hunter: The Dark Stalker's Revenge. So we'll play some of that on the Sega Saturn. I'll leave the Sega Saturn rocking and rolling, and we'll see what happens. You know what else I got that might be interesting to play is I got Dungeons and Dragons the Dungeons and Dragons beat 'em up on the Xbox One. It's like a Capcom game, so that would be pretty fun to play as well. We'll take a run through Darkstalkers and on Facebook or YouTube. Yeah, I don't know. So you guys can figure out international channel. How extensive is your library of international channel quality programming? And did you ever email Gary Wallace, the programming dude at International Channel? He's a cool cat. Okay. So, another great thing about the Japanese version of X-Men Children of the Atom is just how great the CD itself looks. Take a look at how pretty that is. That Wolverine with his crossed claws and that Jim Lee Magneto. So I freaking love Sega Saturn discs. They're just the coolest thing ever. So I'm going to put this back in its box. Which, once again, quality artwork right here. And we'll pop in some Darkstalkers. I'm on the lookout. Ronald, one of our loyal viewers and just generally cool dudes, was super gracious and decided to send me a copy of the sequel to King of Fighters Neo Wave. I think it's called Neo Blood, and I'm looking forward to that because that looks like a great game. Here we go, Vampire Hunter, beautiful, beautiful disc. Again, so I mixed some anime I recorded from Adult Swim with my international channels. I did this exact same thing, man. Exact same thing. So, the Saturday night Adult Swim that showed things like Gundam 0083, Inuyasha, Tenchi Muyo, more uncut. Candidate for Goddess was another one they showed. Gundam 0080. All those shows were really good. And so I taped a bunch of those. Cowboy Bebop, of course. And then they'd get mixed in with my international channel stuff. And also things like Aqua Teen Hunger Force and C-Lab 2021 I would also tape. So I've got a lot of tapes of international channel stuff that are pretty much comprised of combos of those things. It's good stuff. I just love the opening to Saturn. Especially the Japanese one. Do. Man, I really like the artwork in Darkstalkers. It's just great stuff. Yeah, I don't know, man. In the American cartoon, they just made Morgan this, like, weird hag lady. Like, I don't know. As opposed to a sexy, charming, crazy, Scottish succubus vampire. I used to record a lot, but sadly I threw away some of the times I used to say, oh, that sucks. They're fragmented. I see. I understand. That happens to me a little bit, but I was pretty good about things. Let's be Donovan. Sasquatch. Earth tones. See, this game was not brought out on the Sega Saturn. This is another missed opportunity. Then you have like Bernie Stolar. Oh, Saturn's not our future. The hell does that? What does that mean? I mean, I know what it means. It means you have no intention of supporting the Sega Saturn properly. Donovan is, you know, just like a cool JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Buddhist priest. And he's basically Vampire Hunter D, too. That would be a good anime to watch. I haven't watched that in a minute. I was looking at Retro Crush, that great anime channel app, and they actually just got Fatal Fury the Motion Picture subtitled on there. There's a dynamic pose right there. Nah, man, I hear you, International Channel. I've got tapes. It's just I gotta get a better capture setup. I mean, my laptop is just absolute garbage. That neat is cool. I still have to get the Darkstalkers on PlayStation 2 with D. What is Donovan's super move? Yeah, stop screwing around and just beat her, though. There we go. I got around to finally listening to Maria Takuchi's Plastic Love after being my recommendations for long. It's a good song. I mean, it's definitely a popular... It's a song that's kind of popular with the layperson of 80s Japanese pop music, and it's a good song. I like it a lot. Everyone loves that iconic picture. I'll try to upload some 80s J-pop stuff. Bishamon. Man, Saturn looks so good on this monitor. You know, I have not seen the Darkstalkers anime. I really should check it out. Maybe I'll watch that tonight as I fall asleep. It might not be a good idea, though. There we go. Donovan with his magic sword. You know, it's really interesting to take a look at how Darkstalker's characters' designs evolved creatively. You know, the whole idea of turning Donovan from kind of a cowboy character to a Buddhist monk character. It's interesting stuff. Victor's cool. He's a good guy. Frankenstein. He's just misunderstood. Go, Donovan. You know, we do have the version of Marvel vs. not Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel Superheroes on the PlayStation 3 that does have Anita unlocked. And, excuse me for yawning, I do have the PlayStation version of Marvel Superheroes as well, and there's a code you can do to be Anita on that, so... Careful. There we go. How was my Halloween? It was great. I was Captain America. Santino was Thanos. We didn't do as much trick-or-treating because of, obviously, the social distancing things. And we went to my mom's and came home and had McDonald's and went to bed pretty much. It was a nice Halloween. And the only way it could have been, you know, nicer is if we just made a little bit more of the rounds trick-or-treating, but it was good, for sure. I think I've definitely done a lot more... I mean, my stepfather and I get along really well, but I think we've definitely bonded more over this presidential election, because our views tend to be pretty similar, at least in terms of the candidate options and which is preferable. And a little bit of that when, you know, we had some of those discussions on Halloween as well. Owlboth, known as Riku in the States. The Merman. Donovan striking his JoJo pose. You know, once you really discover JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you really see how insanely influential it was to a lot of different animes. You know, it really would be interesting to see what the Sega Saturn's fortunes would have been like had Tom Kalinske maintained creative control of Sega of America. Because he really didn't know how to market the Genesis quite well. And, you know, truth be told, I think that Saturn is a better system than the Genesis. Harder to program for, you know, yes, but the quality of games you cannot argue with. It's a fantastic console. And with the right promotion, it can easily dominate. And that's what happened in Japan, you know? Zabel. known in some circles as Lord Raptor. Clever girl. I've got to try to figure out Donovan's super moves here, because I'm just pretty much just playing him like a typical Capcom character, but I don't know his super moves here. No kids came to my house on Halloween. I'm sorry, Diego. More candy for you. Did any of you guys dress up as anything? I was Superman, actually, on the 30th in school. I wore, like, a full Superman costume. And then on Halloween, I was Captain America, because Santino was Thanos. But he was a friendly Thanos. He got along well with Captain America. Alright, two Donovans. Those Anitas in the background seem to be giving each other shit, throwing shade at each other. See, they have a Blade of Kamui on Retro Crush. That is a fantastic movie. If you don't have the Retro Crush app, download it on your Roku. It's good stuff. Lots of really good anime from the 80s and 90s on there. I dress up as myself. Well done. And enthusiasm of International Channel. As it should be. The greatest channel of all time. That is not a joke. I love International Channel with a passion. I mean, that really... International Channel is one of the things that really expanded my appreciation of other cultures. Oh, there's my super move right there. It's pretty basic. This is the Hadouken and a fierce kick. Ah! I have to rebound. Oop. Pause. Sorry, gang. Camera got knocked over. So we'll adjust like so. And now back to our regularly scheduled live stream. I really do need to do some, solo YouTube videos. Just reviewing some video games. I gotta review Final Fantasy VIII because we have over 800 subscribers. And, it might also be fun to see what MySpace looks like on a cell phone. Do a video about that. Got him, alright. If International Channel is a mouthful for you, you can always call me Ed, or Ed for short. Either way, man. Whatever works for you. IC. I could call you IC. I mean, I could call you Ed if you wanted to. This Morgan pose that is in her picture, I have the hardest time drawing that pose. I think I can do it for the most part, but she's so oddly contorted. It's definitely not anatomically correct, but however the artist drew, I think Bangus drew the characters for these games. He somehow made it work. I love Morgan's music. Soul Feast. I dress up as Diego. Diego Brando. Diego from Zorro. Man, out of range. Barely lost. And the character designs on this game are just phenomenal. As is the music. I mean, this truly is a golden age for Capcom here. Barely lost. Sinister! How the hell are you, man? Morgan hasn't... Yeah, look at this, man. Like, how the hell do you draw that? I mean, I can more or less do it, but, like, the contortions that Bengus does with Morgan's character is just fantastic. Alright, so, I mean, these are pretty much my two favorite Darkstalkers characters right here. Donovan and Morgan. The just vampire hunter with his lovable little sidekick tagging around behind him. And then the bat-winged Baywatch sexpot here, who shoots, energy blasts. It's about as good a combo as you can get with these two here. You stop being so difficult. Ah! I mean, it doesn't help that I'm not that as well versed with Donovan either. Yeah, we're going to lose here. Making fun of reused Morgan sprite was literally made the same year as the original Akuma sprite was recycled from X-Men Children of the Atom. Yes, that is true. And what a sprite it is. Morgan. Alright. There's her rib cage. Somehow her butt is turned. It works! I mean, it's an insane contorted pose. I gotta give you a hint, Noel. Go, Diego, go. What? Alright. I'm rooting for you, Diego. Just gonna work my fierce kick here and try to time it right. There we go. Tried to work the medium punch. I get off in an hour and I changed. I was going to work an event hours later, but I got canceled. It would have been hard for me to get sleep-wise. Well, no, man. Just whatever, just your just follow your schedule, man. There's I love having you here. I love hearing what you have to say about things, but you have absolutely no obligation to be here, There we go. There we go, we got her. Put up a valiant effort, though. Wonder if my boss saw I was scheduled for both and canceled me specifically for my own benefit. I don't know. Happy International Nacho Day, by the way. Man, it was International Nacho Day? I need to get me some nachos. I love nachos. That is like my preferred baseball game snack. You get more. I mean, like, I had an experience where I almost choked on a hot dog one time at an Orioles game. I mean, it wasn't bad. It just kind of, like, went down really quickly, but it went down, like, dangerously. Like, it went down the way that you could choke if you're not careful. So, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I like nachos at baseball games. You get a lot of bang for your buck with nachos. Man. Well, I'm still in the game, but I got me. Darn you, Phobos. This game really does have a lot in common with X-Men Children of the Atom. This very much reminds me of the Sentinel stage. Again, Children of the Atom being a game we just played. Ah, man. Phobos. I choked on nachos and security guard helped me. So you choked on nachos, huh? Enemy terminated. Okay. Well, I'm glad you didn't, I'm glad the nachos weren't the end of you. Diego is asking for nachos right now, as am I. If anyone has any nachos out there, please send them to the Noel Fund. The Noel Fund. Nachos for Noel. Man, we are so close here. I do have Vampire Savior on my PlayStation Mini. I should try to get it for the Saturn, though. Because I know that is considered to be one of the, really good Saturn games. I do like the PlayStation version of it, though. It's great. I actually should get the X-Men Children of the Atom for the PlayStation, because apparently that's got Juggernaut easily available. There we go. All right, Pyron coming up. So, Sinister, are you glued to the election coverage? You're kind of just like, whatever. When you go back and watch the previous part of the live stream, if you're so inclined to do so, you will find me having a lengthy discussion on the goings-on. Pyron has such great music. I rock Santino to sleep to this song quite a bit. Pyron is also a really cool character design as well. Man. Got him. All right. I'm not going to panic regardless of the outcome. Stop acting so mature. Yeah, I wouldn't. I agree. I am slightly annoyed with the outcome of what it looks like it's going to be, but I mean, I was braced for it anyway, so it's not surprising. It's going to be kind of a return to the Obama years of just the establishment chugging along. I do not like Kamala Harris, though. I think she's not a good person. I don't think I think Biden's a crook. I mean, I think, all politicians are crooks, but Biden's like, giant hard drive level crook, Alright, super finish, I got him. But, yeah, Harris seems pretty, manipulative and shrill. So this ending is very, it's kind of like a dark, brooding ending here. Donovan is really struggling with his vampire blood and the amount of killing he's had to do fighting the Darkstalkers has kind of triggered his bloodlust here, and he kind of has to distance himself from Anita, and he's just basically struggling with his fate. Anita has basically grown up to be a college girl and, as a well-adjusted young lady, and now she remembers Donovan, the kind of the hero from her youth, and Donovan just kind of sits there struggling with his vampire tendencies, which he's found increasingly hard to control as he, in order to defeat monsters, is sadly becoming one. And so he just kind of has to deal with that. It's a really interesting ending. It is kind of captivating. It's sad. But you never know. Maybe Donovan will one day find peace. And of course, again, in the PlayStation 2 Darkstalkers game, they have the ending where Dee and Anita fight each other. And then you see, Anita at a graveyard. And, you just kind of have to leave it up to the imagination as to what the hell even happened there. So, and, that is a nice storytelling device to kind of use cryptic, kind of cryptic information to let the viewer kind of run away with wild speculation. Anita's so cute. I think that these leads suddenly disappearing and obviously cheating, and the media is biased and disrespectful of the blatant. No, I don't disagree with you, Sinister. Dora the Explorer. Yeah, we all love Dora the Explorer. I understand that voter fraud is easy to see, but impossible to prove. Yep. No, and it's in the like Trump. I was saying this before you got here, man, that if Biden's leads hold, Trump has cards to play, and he will play them. And those cards include demanding recounts to make sure that things were counted properly, because these elections are within the margin of error for sure. These are less than 1% differences. And then the other thing is, to verify that all these crazy amounts of mail-in ballots are being tabulated properly, and that the votes are, legal votes in the sense that, they're all, either received or postmarked properly. They're not late votes coming in, that kind of thing. And, it's it's in the Democrats' interest. They're not going to be able to lead if the election is questioned. And people in the media's whole thing is, well, Trump's questioning the election. It's like he has the right to question the election because all of this stuff is within 1%, 1.5%. Like, he has a right to verify. This is unprecedented amounts of mail-in votes here. And, mail-in stuff, it's not the same as in-person voting where, you have a person, you have an address, you verify the person and the address, and you have them go vote. Like, this is a much more amorphous thing. I'm not saying it's not credible. I'm just saying there's more room for corruption, and it deserves to be thoroughly checked, especially when the results are this close. And that's not Trump being unreasonable. That's just common freaking sense. Hey Noel, with a smaller House lead by the Dems and a majority in the Rep and the Senate, welcome back to lame duck sessions. Dude, if the Republicans get the House, Biden will get impeached. I truly believe that. If Biden becomes the president, he's going to get impeached. They're saying Russian conspiracy theory about those. Dude, what the... I'm so sick of the neo-McCarthyist bullshit from... the Democrats who use that to cover up their own corruption. You can't criticize us. It's Russian disinformation to criticize us. Yeah, I'm waiting for a kid to cheat on a test and tell me it's Russian disinformation when I present him with evidence that he cheated. I think I'll be positive in that things will need to be negotiated instead of agendas being pushed. No, I think it's true. Checks and balances are a good thing. And I definitely think that this country is in drastic need of dialogue and balance, for sure. So, true that. All right, let me see. Whoa. We're done with Darkstalkers right now anyway. I'm going to just check. How would you feel if your students gave the same word? Hang on, what is Sinister saying here? Every time I scroll up, it keeps knocking me back down. How would you feel as a teacher and many of your students gave the same answer? No, yeah, I mean, I hear you, man, for sure. Bad things always happen in history. People are just shocked when it happens to them after years of peace and prosperity. Hey, yes, that's a good point. Bully Ray is on Impact right now. This is speaking of Hogan era wrestling right here in TNA. This is one of my favorite time periods in TNA. It's AJ Styles and Bully Ray. This is a good match right here. Yeah, good stuff. He's asking for the flare chop, and that didn't work out too well for old AJ. Well, I mean, I think to a certain extent, this whole election thing, I mean, it's actually kind of brought the country together, at least in the short term, because of the, we've all had to deal with, a lot of toxicity, and now it's we're all just kind of coming together watching this horse race, and I think that is nice. I do think that Trump has a point. So I remember he gave a rally probably about a week or two ago. It's when he called CNN dumb bastards. And he basically was saying that it's all you guys do is cover COVID. You're trying to depress the vote, you dumb bastards, and everyone cheered for him. And then he was saying this, you're not going to hear about COVID after the election. And it's it's true that, when the George Floyd protests started, COVID disappeared. It was not on people's minds. People, took it seriously, but kind of in the back of their mind rather than obsessed about it. And then once that news cycle ran out, they started ramming COVID down everyone's throats again. And now with the election, all of a sudden now COVID's in the background. It's again, people wear your mask, be careful, but it's not being rammed down your throat. And I do think that it's important to it's important to take the virus seriously, but when you're just having it sensationalized and you're using it for political means, Trump's got a point that it's being politicized, and that does a disservice. Okay, Columbus questions. I'm actually teaching about Columbus right now in class, actually, so it's actually really appropriate that you bring that up. I'm literally teaching my kids about Columbus for the next few days, if not more. Hey, Noel, as a history teacher, who do you think really discovered America, Native Americans or Columbus? Native Americans obviously discovered America. Columbus made America famous to Western European Catholic kingdoms that then opened the door for a flood of colonization that ultimately benefited Europeans who wanted, more space, more land, more opportunity, more riches, and had both brutal consequences that were intentional and unintentional on the Native Americans through being ravaged by viruses and also brutal slave labor. So European arrival was brutal for the natives. It's not to say that natives and Europeans didn't work well together eventually, but certainly it was the start of some apocalyptic consequences for some native cultures. And but Columbus was, he was a devoted Catholic. He was a good sailor. His discoveries had humongous consequences for world history, and that needs to be weighed against the fact that both his conduct as a leader in the New World and the system he was a part of brutalized and murdered a lot of natives. And that sadly, that imperialist mentality hasn't completely gone. It hasn't gone away. I mean, we're not murdering Indians anymore, but the way that the country behaves is certainly not benevolent on a global stage. Newfoundland, yep, yeah, Leif Erikson. Good stuff. I believe it is impossible to simply know much history existed that simply didn't have preserved records. Yeah, no, it's true. There's definitely a lot of Native American history that, because of the oral traditions they had, didn't get preserved with the same level of scrutiny. And it's kind of like left up to archaeologists to figure out what the hell happened with them. Native Americans are the ones that really discovered America. Sorry, Columbus. No, there's no question about it, man. I mean, they crossed over the land bridge and they had sophisticated cultures. They rolled with nature. They dominated nature less than the Europeans. So when the Europeans got here, it's kind of like, oh well, where's all your cities? And it's like, they knew how to live. There were some native cities too, obviously. With it's been notably in Mexico and So I don't know. It's interesting stuff. But I think Columbus deserves credit in terms of his accomplishments, but at the same time, I don't think we should forget the fact that the natives are the ones that were here first, and there's other people that did discover America too. They didn't make it famous like Columbus. Columbus didn't even think he discovered America. To his dying day, he insisted he just thought he found islands off the West Indies. So, all right. I think we're gonna do we've been doing this for about 2 hours. We're gonna do one quick game here. It's about midnight, so we'll wrap up after one more quick game. I think it would probably be fun for us to play a little bit of that Dungeons and Dragons beat 'em up. I actually just bought that for the Xbox One over here. So I love history, greatest subject in school. You got that right. I actually had to sub for art today, just for a couple minutes though. It was I like art class. 7th grade art, teaching that is not always ideal, but it was pretty fun. Imagine calling Europeans native Europeans. Yeah, truth. Let us move our stuff here. So we're going to play some Xbox One. Aliens discovered America. We're through the Looking Glass now, man. Do 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 do. Recommend watching Wang's video on John Teeter. Wow, that's a good one. The more I live, the more I think that John Teeter is actually correct. There was a guy who traveled back in time from a urban-rural civil war. All right. Street Fighter Real Battle on Film. This is a great game. This is not Real Battle on Film, though. It's the American version. The Japanese version is called Real Battle on Film. I don't know if Real Battle on Film is in English or Japanese, though, so that's a good question. Set this up in front of the TV here. Try to angle this a bit. There, that should do. Xbox One. I'm going to hit the lights. Okay. Why don't we play some Dungeons and Dragons: The Chronicles of Mystaria on the Xbox One? You're still the one. Xbox One. Alright, so we're going to pick up where we left off here. I am a cleric. And this game is interesting, for sure, because it combines the beat-em-up with the world of the RPG, with menus, for the sake of having menus, and dialogue, and monsters, and magic everywhere, and maybe Mel Gibson. You gotta be born a Highlander, you don't just become one. Just saying lines from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. We were fighting the hyenas from the Lion King right here. This game is great, incidentally. Columbus called the Native Americans Indians. Yes, he did. Yep, no, they were trying to... Columbus was trying to find a trade route to Asia, and he thought the Earth was smaller than it was. So he knew the Earth was round, but he definitely misjudged the time it would take to get to Asia, and didn't realize what exactly it was that he found. I mean, people at the time thought that there were still, the city of Atlantis was around somewhere, It's like outer space for us. This is probably the best Dungeons and Dragons game ever made. I can't possibly see this being topped. I mean, I know there's video games like Dragon Quest and Record of Lodoss War, but those don't actually bear the name Dungeons and Dragons. I had fun playing Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't get into it until I was older, but I had a lot of fun drawing kind of storyboarding the campaign. I am playing Dungeons and Dragons: The Chronicles of Mystaria on the Xbox One. It is a Capcom arcade game that is a side-scrolling beat-em-up version of Dungeons and Dragons. Man. This guy's almost going down. No, he's not, man. We've barely made a dent in this dude. Guess we just gotta try to stay on him and... Ooh, accidentally picked a girl. We had Deedlit from Record of Lodoss War, which is probably a good choice to play as here. She's really good. Tag out the Cleric and bring in the High Elf. Die, monster. You don't belong in this world. The same could be said of all religions. Your words are as empty as your soul. Is that the game? It's a level? Alright, good deal. So, it is getting kind of late, so we'll probably just do the one level on that right now. I was bashing a certain arcade board in Noel's private message the other day. Yes, you were, which is fine. I think Record of Lodoss War. That would be so freaking cool if they did a Record of Lodoss War beat 'em up. I mean, that's basically what this is, but it doesn't have the Lodoss War characters, so, you know, that's great. So we streamed for 2 hours, guys. It's been super fun. I'm glad I got to chit-chat with you guys about 12 after 9. I'm sorry, 9 after 12. So you can tell it's getting late. So yeah, good stuff. So thanks for hanging out. And I always enjoy talking with you guys, gaming with you guys, and thank you for giving me a platform to express myself and share my eccentricities. I'm turning into Joe Biden right now. I'm mixing up my words. Like, you know, Abe Lincoln told the poor boys and George Lopez to stand up and stand down. Purple Monkey Banana Dishwasher. So, I kid. I kid because of Hunter Biden's laptop, which is completely authentic. So yeah, that's good stuff. That you're here and we can all joke around and be friends and have fun. And play cool games. I know I keep saying I'm going to do some solo videos on YouTube, and I am. I definitely am. So be on the lookout for those. And I do have grades coming up, so I might be a little sparse than normal, but we'll definitely do at least one live stream next week. So, yes, always with the Simpsons references. So, good stuff. Good night, my friends. Thank you very much. If you are watching this later after the fact, thank you for watching. You guys take care. Check out the channel. Like and subscribe if you're not already. And I will see you in the very near future. Good night. Bye-bye.